discussion afterwards. More on that later. I would like to thank Dr. Norman Asselmeyer, Dr. Catriona Perry, Dr. Mark Liliak, Dr. Yevin Yashuk, sorry for butchering your names, for organizing this event this year and providing me an opportunity to speak here. I'd also like to thank Dr. Jane Garnett for inspiring me in some of the contents of this talk and giving me wonderful tutorials and also founding this event. I'd like to thank Manami Hokugo and Vera Garapu, who are in the audience today, for waking up extra early and doing my hair and makeup today. Finally, I want to thank my mom because she's awesome. Okay, enough about other people, let's talk about me. So I am transgender. Raise of hand for those who were surprised. Okay, you don't actually. Raise of hand for those who weren't surprised. Okay, okay. Don't actually do that. But maybe there were some people in the audience who knew or had a sneaking suspicion, but weren't sure or didn't want to offend me. But in their heads they were thinking something like, "Oh yeah, she looks indeed quite trans today." Or like, "Oh yeah, I totally clocked you when I saw you." For those of you who knew or had this sneaking suspicion, what gave it away? Let me guess, is it my name? B? Yes, of course. Another trans person named B. Well, actually, joke's on you because B is my given name. Not quite sure if that's serendipitous or unfortunate. No, it's not my name. Well, if it's not my name, then is it my face that gave it away? Well, if it was, blame Manami and Vera. They were in charge of that today. No? Let me guess. Is it my towering stature? No, my skirt, leggings, boots, nail color? No. Don't tell me it's my mid-face ratio. No, I can't change that. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? When I put these aspects of femininity into isolation. I mean, why is a 1-to-1 nose to forehead ratio something that I should desire? I mean, why subtly paint and draw on my face in specific ways so that my eyes appear slightly bigger, my nose slightly more petite, or my lips a little bit more plump, my forehead less prominent, cheekbones less pronounced, and eyebrows thinner? Why do I wear undergarments that accentuate my breasts, or shorts that take its name a little too literally? Is it for the male gaze? Is it for the female gaze? My own gaze? I mean, is it for the gaze? Or maybe it doesn't have to be for anybody's gaze. I mean, to be honest, I don't have a real answer to this question. It's definitely outside the purview of this talk. And I'm not sure if this question even warrants an answer in the first place. What I do have an answer to is that I know doing all of this makes me happy, despite the looks I receive, the comments I never asked for, or the potential disowning from my own family. Father, forgive me for I have sinned and will continue to do so. So, what gave it away? My voice? Did you say it's my voice? Oh, yes, my voice. Of course. The topic of my talk today. Who would have guessed? Well, let's talk about it, shall we? Since my transition, I have realized that my voice defines me much more than I had realized. Not just in its pitch, but the vocality of it. Whether it's raspy or smooth, the cadence is fast or slow, the levels of intonations in our voices, our accents, all of these and more contribute to what we call our voice. And as someone who has the voice of your average Californian entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, I basically hit the jackpot of all voices. With it, I've gained credibility and respect just like that. I mean, back in high school in Korea, people would just assume that I was American and better at them than English and everything else based purely on the merits of my spoken voice. I mean, opportunities came easily to me as long as I sounded confident and trust was obtained so fast. And as you are well aware by now, that's the same voice that I am using today. I haven't made any real attempts at transitioning the voice just yet, and it's not that I don't want to, trust me, I would like to. It's just that I suppose when I first started my transition journey, everything else seemed like it mattered more at the time. And the privileged voice that I have that was invisible to me all my life until recently, well, now it's been the bane of my existence. Unlike my face, which I can cake on layers of powder, in this case, Manami can cake on layers of powder on me, or my clothes where I can just where my body I can cover fully with garbs, I can't really do anything immediate to my voice and transform it into something convincingly female. Yet, every day, I use my voice. More than any other way of communication, I use my voice. Ever since I was a child, I never seemed to be able to keep my mouth shut. I mean, I practically blathered my way through school. Theater, Model United Nations, public speaking, debates. I mean, if there was an activity in which I could talk, I probably did it. However, in the past year or so, as I leaned into trying to pass more and more, I found myself growing increasingly distant with my own voice. For example, a couple months ago at a restaurant, for the first time ever, I was referred to as Madam when I walked in. And not wanting to break the bubble of illusion, I proceeded to just gesture with my hand, signaling that I wanted a table for one. And then after I was sat down by the waitress, when I inevitably had to use my voice to order the food, instead of being normal, I just quietly mouthed a few words while pointing at the dish I wanted to get, and then silently smiled as she walked away. So when the opportunity to participate at this symposium came available to me about 3 weeks ago, I felt at a crossroads. On the one hand, I knew that I wanted to do a talk because it's something I've always loved doing, and I felt empowered to vocalize my trans feminine experience as a force. On the other hand, I felt alienated at the prospect of doing this talk using the voice that I have. I didn't want to use the masculine voice that I was stuck to embody a feminine experience. I mean, do I just try to blitz through a vocal transition process in a few weeks to try to sound as close to a female voice as I could? That's hardly seemed possible. So I thought maybe I would just give up and only do the presentations again once I have reclaimed my voice, is what I would have said if I didn't end up doing the talk. Obviously, that did not happen, as I am standing in front of you right now. So what changed my mind? It was in assessing my disposition which brought me to the crossroads in the first place that made me come forward and speaking today. I mean, in some sense, there is something rather paradoxical about my trans experience. While every day I try to arrive firmly in the other gender binary, the female, the descriptive categorization of me is precisely between these binaries, transgender. And if it was up to me, I don't want to be a trans woman. I don't want to be trans. I don't want to be trans anything. I just want to be a woman. Yet, that is how I choose to identify myself, trans, and how I will be situated within the contemporary gender diaspora. The trans experience, therefore, exists only between binaries. And in this formulation, as a trans person, I'm not quite fit for a man nor a woman, neither he nor she. I mean, the theys always have a place for me, technically, but I keep running away from them. But rather, I am always positioned as the other. Now, while this makes my everyday life kind of difficult, like when I want to order pad thai, I believe that it makes for a profoundly productive position in generating force. A rather apt topic for this symposium. So rather than trying to hide my voice, I decided to highlight it and put it under scrutiny. Between my feminine garments and my masculine voice, a monster is made of me. I am a monster from past assemblages of the vestiges of the he's and the alien appendages of the she's that I grabbed, stitched loosely together by my own imaginaries. A he-she, if you will. This monstrous image in relation with a trans experience did not originate from me. It was first, to my knowledge, mentioned by Susan Stryker in her seminal work, My Words to Victor Frankenstein Above the Village of Chamonix. Shout out to Stryker. Highly recommend reading that piece. At the beginning of this talk, I situated myself in a rather uncomfortable scenario, perhaps more for you than me, in putting my femininity into examination. All the while, I vocalized it with this masculine voice. And in doing that, my hope was to reveal some of the superfluous elements of gender and maybe put myself in between any gender bracket. Because if I cannot hide the monstrous seams, then I choose to accentuate and decorate them. I choose to use my vocal dissonance to generate a voice that shudders normacy under audit. It may be true that I can't just be a woman. I paint my fingernails scarlet, I stain my lips creamy, I push up and lift my knot breasts, I swear my behind while I walk. I aim for the hyper-feminine in hopes of just barely making it to the feminine. And even when I do all of those things, I am called into the question of a lack of a female experience. I mean, growing up, I never had the experience of being dismissed as I was just a girl. I never fully was included in girl groups. When I played house with my friends, I was always allocated as the father. I didn't have to worry about going outside late at night alone. I was never followed at night, catcalled. Actually, I did. I was catcalled for the first time ever last week. I just wanted to put that out there. Anyways, carrying on. I will never have a period, never bear children, and the list goes on. But did you notice how many of these experiences that I yearn for are unpleasant? How many of these supposed quintessential and universal female experiences are objectively terrible? I mean, here I am standing, complaining that I can't, to quote Stryker again, bleed without a wound. Why would I go such lengths with unofficial estrogen regimens, risky medical procedures, and the potential loss of family and friends? One could definitely say that I was lucky to have been born with a positively privileged genitalia. Yeah, you're probably right. But my luck seems to have been caving as of late. Because despite all of its discomforts, femininity is magnificent, and I continue to yearn to be a woman. This statement I just uttered, I imagine, rings true for many women sitting in the audience today. Because there isn't a quintessential and universal female experience. I mean, plenty of women have voices they deem to be too deep or even too high. Plenty of women don't have breasts or the capability of bearing children. Plenty of women have had the trouble of being included in so-called girl groups. Plenty of women feel too manly, even when they don't wear proper attire, when they don't wear a full face of feminizing makeup. Plenty of women do not feel women enough, despite doing all of these and more. Like me. Just like how I formulate my identity against the female identity was made against the male, which makes her the other and I the other. Well, what I'm suggesting here is that the otherness of others is never simply just a binary contrast. In reality, they're almost always relationally connected with a multiplicity of others. And what we possess then as the other is the force to rupture and reveal incongruities of our condition. Only in examining another are we able to realize ourselves as the other. The woman is most herself when her womanhood is brought into question. This process, however, is liminal as she inevitably returns to the quotidian and the everyday and continues to live. However, it's these transient moments that are most generative. As someone who is, by definition, in this state all the time, the incongruities of gender construction are forced upon me constantly. And what a waste that would have been if I hadn't vocalized them. Indeed, it would be a tremendous waste. And indeed, it would be a tremendous waste if everybody did not do the same. There may not be a universal feminine experience or universal trans experience or even a universal masculine experience for that matter. I do believe, however, there to be a universal human experience like feeling like you don't belong, like you've been cast out by another, made a monster. While some of us may be the other more often than not, I believe that this transient experience of being the other is unique to none and shared by all. Whether you are trans like me, a woman, man, or otherwise, I implore all of those who are listening to vocalize and generate a force to unsuture the incongruent stitches of our condition and generate a voice. Make comfortable the uncomfortable and dwell in the vocal in-between. However, on the same exact thread, if being the other is a universal experience, then being the force that is casting out the other necessarily also is a universal experience. I mean, it's easy to reveal and rend the dissonance when we are the other, but it's almost impossible to do the same on the other side. I myself, inadvertently, have probably shuttered countless voices in utilizing my own privileged vocality in the past. And all of that was completely invisible to me until I began losing that privilege. As Foucault suggests, oppression is invisible to the oppressor, as the exercise of power is most effective when it's been institutionalized, normalized, and naturalized. So if we cannot prevent the structural and relational oppression of the transient other, I think that the best we can do is to be receptive while in a position of privilege. And the Wadham Symposium serves as the perfect practicum. This space, I think, serves as the ideal place to vocalize, but it crucially would fail without genuine reception. I have generated vocalization of voice in telling my own story, and now it's up to all of those on the other side who are listening to carry on my voice. Listen to people and subjects you wouldn't usually listen to. Engage in conversation. Interact with its contents, but do not codify. Question its contents, but do not prescribe. Critique, don't criticize. If we only listen to those who we feel most connected to, academia becomes an echo chamber. Academia must not be an echo chamber. Don't be that guy who refers to his female colleagues when asked about gender because he feels like it's not his place, even if it's well-intentioned. An audience with the force of the correct reception is most pertinent for the success of this symposium. I mean, without them, the contents of the speeches today are lost and their propagation halted. A transient voice must be paired with a receptive force. We all stepped into the room today with our own dispositions, philosophies, prejudices, truths, and judgments. But I want to encourage everybody here to try to keep an openness for all the perspectives sounded today, regardless of who they are, and engage discursive discourse. And I hope to see that in the discussion that follows.